Welcome back. So, before I was the hockey guy, before I did all the hockey stuff, and before I had most of the jerseys you see behind me there, um, I did videos on Doctor Who. I would sit in my apartment. I would talk about Doctor Who. I would talk about each episode, and that was during the Peter Capaldi era. Peter Capaldi era is when you see the ratings dropping off. There were a lot of people who didn't like the writing. I thought the writing was uneven, but I did think there were some great episodes. Listen to Me is still one of the all-time great episodes. And Peter Capaldi as the Doctor was great because we had Matt Smith, who was a young version of the Doctor and very quirky and very odd. And I thought Capaldi, being the older, more gruff version of the Doctor, gave it a different look, especially in relation to Jenna Coleman. Jenna Coleman as Clara. They'll have a Carla at some point, but Clara, I liked her, and I thought the dynamic between her and Capaldi was better than the relationship she had with Matt Smith. Although some of those episodes were absolutely awesome. Asylum of the Daleks is still an all-time favorite of mine, which is technically before Coleman became a regular on the series. So I've been a fan through Russell T Davies and then Stephen Moffat's eras. And I have been a fan even though the writing has been all over the place. The idea that the sleep in your eye could become sentient and evil, and I mean, that was horrible. That was an awful episode. Still didn't put me off watching, but Chibnall did. The last season of Doctor Who, I didn't watch at all. It was a six-parter. I watched the first part, and I said I'm done. And Yvonne agreed. We tried to watch it, and we were like, I don't understand what's going on. And I think the worst part of it was I didn't care. So this whole flux thing that they go, I didn't care. And that's the most damning thing. The most damning thing of a show is not you hating it and I hate this storyline. It's when you don't care. You're like, you know what? I think I'm done. And I reached that point with Doctor Who a couple years back where I was like, I'm done. And I feel bad because Jodie Whittaker was very good as the Doctor. I think she was very believable as the Doctor. She had an energy that was similar to a Matt Smith. There was some Tom Baker in how she portrayed him as well. And I thought she did well. And while people got mad that there was a woman playing the Doctor, it never bothered me. This is a Time Lord that changes his face every, few years of TV time. I think the idea that they could change their gender as well as their face, sure, why not? So it didn't bother me. And of course, the precursor to that was when the Master became Missy, so it was there that a Time Lord could. Now, of course, coming out of the Chibnall era, I've seen all the spoilers for Timeless Child, and I think it's stupid. And I think that the entire plot twist with the Time Lords and the Doctor's really, I think it's stupid. I did not enjoy the Master. Uh, with the last actor that played the Master, I was not a fan, especially after Missy. Missy was great, and John Sim owns that role. So to me, Michelle Rodriguez as well as John Sim, that's their roles, and you could bring both of them in, and I would be overjoyed to see the two working together because I think that would be awesome. But obviously, at this point in time, the likelihood of that, well, it's not very likely. Now, the 60th anniversary specials next month have me kind of excited because the 50th anniversary was great. 50th anniversary had Tennant coming back, you had Tennant, you had Smith, you had the War Doctor. All of it was done really, really well. And it kind of rejuvenated the show, I thought. It did a very good job. It was our first look at Peter Capaldi, even though you just see the eyebrows. And it was really well done overall. I thought it was great. And then the rest of Matt Smith's run I thought was solidly done as well. And again, there's been series that I've not been a fan of. Series 6, when they were clearly trying to turn Doctor Who into an American show, no, it didn't work. It didn't work to me. It didn't work on any level. The astronaut thing was weird. Melody, I thought, who, becomes River Song, I thought was done well enough. I'm not a hater of River's song, although I preferred River when she interacted with Peter Capaldi. Her last appearance as River I thought was perfectly written, really well done, And I genuinely teared up at the end of that episode. I thought it was really, really well done. Which is why the fact that the Chibnall era put me off of Doctor Who was surprising even to me. Because initially it was like, okay, so it's a little different. I immediately had a problem with it. I had a problem with the idea that Jodie Whittaker's Doctor falls out of the sky, falls for miles, and then just she gets up, dusts herself off, and she's okay. And I was like, did we establish that the Doctor could do that? Because when did the Doctor become Kal-El? When did that happen? And of course, so soon after regenerating, I'm sure the answer would be, well, they're still in a regenerative state. So, all right, allons-y then, just go for it. But it's just the writing didn't get better. The villains weren't very good. They made a big deal out of the first season under Chibnall. They weren't doing any of the old villains, which was fine. It's fine. Don't do Daleks and Cybermen and Sontarans. Just fine. I'm fine with that. But you need villains that are interesting, and the show lacked that. It lacked that. They had the one episode, I'm trying to remember now, where they had the tiny little creature that was a bomb. That is the only episode in the Chibnall era that I really, truly enjoyed. That was the one that I thought, this is actually entertaining. And I think it was that it wasn't beating us over the head with a message. Now, I have no problem with a show pointing out issues with society. I have no problem with a show or a movie saying this is, there's an unfairness in society and bringing that up. But it should A, feel organic, and B, it shouldn't feel like that's the only reason that episode exists. And under Chibnall, there were various episodes where at the start, I would say, oh, I know what the lesson's going to be this week. And sure enough, by the end of the episode, I'd be like, yep, there it is. There's the twist. There it is. Yep, humanity's evil. Got it. Cool. Great. Awesome. Thanks. And it just didn't work for me. And the ratings clearly tell you it didn't work for people watching either. And it's just the storylines didn't make a lot of sense. They were too ham-fisted, and there were too many companions. If you're going to bring in a new Doctor, especially if you're changing the dynamic completely, and the Doctor is now a woman, I think having three companions that first year, don't have three companions, because you're still establishing the Doctor. So have one companion. Really dive into, no, we're going to do, and it just felt convoluted. It felt, and then there's the spider one. That was stupid. Like, and little things that get pointed out, like, the Doctor wouldn't kill the gigantic spiders because they have a right to exist, and then traps them at the end of the episode to suffocate and starve and die. And it's like, Doctor's a hero, right? And then, I don't believe in guns. Fine, that's very consistent of not believing in guns, unless you need it for the storyline, in which case, guns are okay. It just, there was an inconsistency to the way that the Doctor was written, and Chibnall was just taking canon and just trying to annihilate it, which he successfully did with Timeless Child. Now, there's been rumors that this is basically a reboot under Russell T Davies. It sure feels like it. It sure feels like it. So what do? You're taking over a show that the ratings have tanked. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. And it is on its last legs, much like when Sylvester McCoy takes over in the late 80s before the show is gone, right? And you don't want the show to get canceled. I don't want the show canceled, but I also want it to be watchable. So that's the trick. So Russell T Davies, when he comes back, he brings David Tennant and Catherine Tate with him. There you go, the Doctor and Donna. The only way this could have been better would have been if it was Doctor and Rose. But I understand Doctor and Donna is much easier to explain storyline-wise than the Doctor and Rose. And it keeps in mind that if Donna remembers the Doctor, that her brain will explode. It's a storyline. It's times wibbly wobbly, take a long time. But it's one of those storylines. It's a silly plot device just to make it so that doorway was closed. Well, now they're reopening it, right? So, bringing back Donna, bringing back David Tennant as the 14th Doctor now, and he'll be different than he was the 10th. I think it's great. I think it's great, and I think for these specials to set it up so that Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor takes over with a clean slate makes a lot of sense. I think, really, Russell T Davies, and I'm just going to guess at what happens here. Russell T Davies looking at the show that Chibnall's got written, realizing I can't just pivot from what he's written into what I want to do with Series 14, remembering that in the UK it's series, not seasons. So we would call it Season 14. It's Series 14 in the UK. You can't just transition to what Russell T Davies wants to do. You have to have that buffer. So the 60th anniversary specials are that nice buffer and a way for him to make it about stuff again, and not having to have some kind of a message to it. It doesn't have to be Captain Planet every week. Initially, Doctor Who was a kids show that was supposed to teach kids about stuff and do it in a fun, sci-fi kind of way. And I think that show that is still in this show, although it's kind of lost its way at times. Now, there are rumors, too, about whether or not Billie Piper might have some kind of a cameo somewhere. And I think the fact that she is in Audio Adventures might aid that. I get tired, though, of these little fake headlines that I see for Doctor Who. When I see Chris Eccleston's returning to the series, and I'm like, he's returning to Doctor Who. Oh, that's going to be great. And then I see it's an audio adventure. That's not the same at all. That's not it. It's not it. It's not. Don't do that to me. It's not nice. It's mean. Because Christopher Eccleston was the ninth Doctor, and when he left the show, it was a bad experience for him. It was apparently a bad experience for the crew, and it's been a lot of negativity. It would be nice to see him return to the show, just to kind of put that behind everything. And of course, now it's over 20 years later, so who knows if they'd even bother. But Rose coming back to the show for an episode would be great. I don't know that it necessarily happens. If it was going to happen, it would be in the 60th anniversary specials. I'm sure they'll have something in this with a lot of the previous cast, right? So that I think we'll see something with that. Now, whether it's just a flashback where they show a bunch of highlights of stuff, whatever it is. But of course, the one kicker is, so you've got these three specials. Well, he has to regenerate again at the end of it. So David Tennant's return is not that long. It's only for a few episodes, but it does feel like it's to reset the canon, to reset the storyline. And then Series 14 starts next year with Ncuti Gatwa's run as the Doctor. Millie Gibson's going to be the companion Ruby Sunday. Millie Gibson does not look dissimilar to Billie Piper in terms of how Billie Piper looked when Doctor Who rebooted. So there's a lot of talk about, hey, that'll be different, and yet it'll be an echo of something that's the same. So I look forward to this. Ncuti Gatwa is Eric on Sex Education. He is one of the funniest actors, I think, on planet Earth. Greatly enjoyed his character on Sex Education. I've just started season 4 of that, though. It's not good so far. I love the show. I'm like, oh, good, it's coming back. And then the first episode, I'm like, what was that? But anyways, not on Eric's character. He's very good. And so I think he'll do quite well. And Millie Gibson, apparently being on, I think she was on Coronation Street, which is going to be on for another 800 years. But yeah, I think that's going to be a fun series. And I'm looking forward to it because it's Russell T Davies. Hopefully we see a Jack Harkness cameo at some point, because Captain Jack Harkness, yeah, that was a Russell T Davies creation there. One of my absolute favorite characters. And for people who watch the Chibnall era, I never did watch the Jack Harkness episode of the Jodie Whittaker era. I couldn't do it. I could not get through the episodes to get to that one, and I was like, I can't do this. I tap out. And so there is a lot that I didn't watch. But I think part of it, too, is that when I heard that Chibnall was going to be out as the showrunner and that he only lasted through Whittaker's time, I realized, okay, so with the ratings in the tank, with everybody basically angry at the show, I don't have to watch this because none of this is going to matter. to the storyline after Russell T Davies comes back. That was my opinion then, still my opinion now, and I would expect that in these 60th anniversary episodes that we'll see a nice reset, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to watching it, and it's the first time I've been excited to watch Doctor Who in years. It's the first time since the final season of Peter Capaldi. And if you don't watch Doctor Who, or if you haven't watched the Capaldi series, the last 2 episodes of the season where Clara dies, absolutely some of the best ever. There's the one episode, it's just him. It is just him. There's nobody else in the entire episode, and it works because Peter Capaldi is a brilliant actor who sadly, through a lot of his time as the Doctor, did not have the kind of writing that I think he deserved. And the same, I would say, for Jodie Whittaker. She had the right look. She had the right attitude. She absolutely can work as the Doctor. And I hope that under Russell T Davies, we see something where she shows up for an episode. I would love to see her in an episode written by or directed by Russell T Davies, because I do think he'll get the show back on track. I really enjoyed the show when he ran it before. There's always an episode or two in any given season of Doctor Who that's not very good, but usually the rest of the series makes up for it. We had gotten to the point, I thought, in the Chibnall era where there was maybe an episode that wasn't bad, and the rest of it was tough to get through. So, here's to hoping that is no longer going to be the case. So are you excited about the new Doctor Who episodes? Let me know why or why not in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And in some alternate universe somewhere, I guess I'm reviewing Doctor Who episodes, and I made that work. They weren't getting off the ground, and eventually I realized this isn't going to get any traction online. And now here I am, all these years later, talking to all you fine people on the internet about Doctor Who. So let me know your thoughts, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.